David Cole was one of the youngest billionaires in Lagos. At just 32, he had built an empire from real estate, oil, and tech. His face often appeared on magazine covers and TV shows, yet behind his expensive suits and luxury cars was a man who carried an emptiness no money could fill. David longed for true love, a connection that was not built on wealth or power. At parties, women clung to him, but their smiles were too wide and their laughter too fake. Relatives respected him, but only because of his bank balance. He realized that if he lost everything, many of them would vanish. David had tried dating beautiful, rich women, even foreigners, but all roads led back to one truth: money attracted them, not his heart. One night, sitting alone in his penthouse overlooking the sparkling lights of Victoria Island, David wondered what it felt like to be ordinary. To walk the streets unnoticed. To meet someone who loved him for who he was, not for his billions. An idea struck him that night. What if he disguised himself as a poor man? What if he hid his identity to see who would love him without knowing his true status? That was the beginning of a dangerous adventure. David shared his plan only with his elder brother, Michael, who lived abroad. Michael thought the idea was reckless but also understood his brother's pain. "You're playing with fire, David," Michael warned during a late-night call. "The streets of Lagos are not safe. Anything can happen to you." But David was determined. He needed answers that no amount of luxury could give. He also confided in his loyal driver and assistant, Mr. Benson. Together, they bought second-hand clothes from a street market in Oshodi, torn shirts, faded trousers, and worn-out slippers. David even let his beard grow rough and rubbed dust on his skin to complete the disguise. He looked in the mirror and could hardly recognize himself. The following week, he instructed Benson to drop him off near Yaba, a bustling area filled with traders, students, and beggars. From there, David began to live a double life. By day, a billionaire behind closed doors, and by evening, a nameless beggar on the streets of Lagos. The first nights were the hardest. David had never begged for food before. He watched people walk past him with disgust, some tossing a few coins, others spitting harsh words like, "Lazy man. Go find work." His body ached from sitting on cold pavements, and he learned quickly that the streets were cruel. He made two unexpected friends, Tunde and Kunal, young men who had lived as beggars for years. They taught him how to survive, where to sleep without being chased by thugs, how to stretch out his hand at traffic lights, and how to share scraps of food without shame. Despite their roughness, they looked out for him, and for the first time, David tasted the bitter reality of poverty. At night, lying under a broken shed near Yaba bus stop, David listened to the sounds of Lagos, the honking, the shouting, the endless rush. He thought about his air-conditioned bedroom in Banana Island, his soft mattress, and private chef. Yet strangely, he felt closer to life than ever before. One hot afternoon, as David sat outside a tailoring shop in Yaba, he saw her, Amora Johnson. She was busy arranging clothes on display while humming softly. She wore a simple blue dress, her hair neatly braided, her smile gentle. Unlike others who passed by, she didn't look at him with disgust. Instead, when he coughed from hunger, she stepped out and handed him a bottle of water. "Here, drink," she said kindly. David was stunned. Most people threw coins without a glance, but she looked him straight in the eye, as if he mattered. That simple gesture warmed his heart more than any luxury gift he had received. Over the next few days, Amora occasionally offered him leftover food from her shop. She never asked his name or mocked his condition. To her, he was just another human being who deserved kindness. David began to sit outside her shop more often, waiting for her smile. Something about her spirit felt genuine, untouched by greed. Amora's friend, Aisha, often teased her. "Why do you waste your food on that beggar? You don't even know his story. Lagos is full of scammers." But Amora ignored her. She believed kindness was never wasted. David, on the other hand, found himself studying her quietly. He noticed how she treated her customers, with patience, respect, and honesty. He overheard her telling a student she could pay for a dress in installments because she couldn't afford it all at once. It shocked him. Here was a woman struggling herself, yet willing to help others. One evening, David whispered to himself, "If she can love a beggar, then maybe she can love me, David Cole, the man, not the billionaire. He didn't know it yet, but his heart was already falling for Amora. Back in his billionaire life, David faced pressure from society. Chief Adewale, a powerful politician, was pushing his daughter Kimi toward him. Kimi was beautiful, flashy, and used to getting what she wanted. She paraded herself around David, flaunting her designer bags and expensive perfume. But David was uninterested. He had seen through her type, hungry for wealth, not love. You should marry into the Adewale family, his business associates advised. It will strengthen your empire. David smiled politely, but inside, he was exhausted. He couldn't tell them he was secretly living as a beggar, searching for love in Yaba. Kimi, however, was determined. She swore she would win David's heart, unaware that his real interest lay with a humble fashion designer she had never met. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the rooftops of Yaba, Amora closed her shop and noticed David still sitting outside, looking weak. For the first time, she decided to ask him a question. "Do you have anywhere you sleep at night?" she asked softly. David hesitated, then shook his head. "Under the bridge sometimes," he muttered, his voice hoarse. Her heart ached. She had seen beggars before, but something about this man was different. He spoke gently, with words carefully chosen, unlike most street beggars she had encountered. "What's your name?" she asked. David panicked for a second. He couldn't reveal his true identity. "Daniel," he lied, choosing a name close to his real one so he wouldn't forget. From that evening, their conversations began. They were short, but each word mattered. Amora discovered that he was educated. His English was too polished to be ordinary. "Life wasn't always like this," David explained vaguely, avoiding details. Amora wanted to know more, but she didn't press. She only smiled and said, "No matter what life throws at you, don't lose your dignity." That night, David lay awake on the pavement, her words echoing in his heart. The days grew tougher. One afternoon, David fainted from hunger while trying to cross the busy road. Amora rushed out of her shop and screamed for help. People gathered, some laughed cruelly, others shrugged and walked away. But Amora lifted his head onto her lap, fanning him with her scarf. When he regained consciousness, she scolded him like a brother. "You must eat something every day. Don't starve yourself to death." She went into her shop and brought him a plate of rice she had kept for herself. David's throat tightened as he ate slowly, realizing she had given up her own meal. No woman had ever sacrificed for him like this, not even when he had billions at his fingertips. That night, David called his brother Michael secretly. "I think I found her," he whispered. Michael was surprised. "Already? Be careful, David. You don't know her well enough." But David's heart knew. Something about Amora's kindness was real, and he was willing to risk everything to find out. Meanwhile, Kimi Adewale was restless. David had been avoiding her calls and ignoring her invitations to elite parties. She began to suspect he was seeing someone else. "No woman takes my man," she told her friends angrily. "If David thinks he can reject me, I'll show him he chose the wrong person." She hired a private investigator to watch David's movements. But the investigator returned with confusing news. "Your man disappears some nights," he reported. "We follow him, but instead of clubs or hotels, he ends up in dirty areas like Yaba. Then he vanishes until morning." Kimi was shocked. "What nonsense are you telling me? David Cole in Yaba? Impossible." But the investigator swore it was true. Kimi decided to dig deeper. She swore she would uncover the truth and expose whoever was stealing David's attention. Little did she know, her obsession was about to pull her straight into Amora's world. Days turned into weeks, and Amora's bond with David grew stronger. She often sat outside after closing hours, talking to him about life, dreams, and struggles. David, though careful with his words, listened more than he spoke. He found peace in her voice, and slowly, he began to open up. "I once had everything," he confessed one evening, staring at the ground. "But I lost it all. Now I'm here." Amora placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Then you understand how fragile life is. Don't give up. Sometimes, Losing everything is the start of something new. Her words pierced his heart like sunlight breaking through a storm. For the first time, David felt he could be loved without money. But at the same time, fear lingered. What would happen when she discovered the truth? Would she feel betrayed, or would she understand? That question haunted him as much as it thrilled him. One rainy evening, as David sat shivering under a broken umbrella, a group of street boys cornered him. They accused him of taking over their begging spot and demanded money. "If you don't pay us, we'll make sure you disappear," one of them threatened. David, unaccustomed to such dangers, felt real fear. Luckily, Tunde and Kunnal, the street brothers who had befriended him earlier, arrived and chased the thugs away. "This life no be for you, Daniel," Kunnal warned. "You don't look like us. Something about you different." David forced a smile, but inside he knew they were right. His disguise was good, but not perfect. His polished way of speaking and calm manner gave him away. Amora found him later that night, his shirt torn and his face bruised. She rushed to clean his wounds with water and a piece of cloth. "Why must life be this cruel?" she whispered, tears forming in her eyes. For the first time, David almost told her the truth, but fear silenced him. Meanwhile, Kimi grew more restless. She confronted her father, Chief Adiwale. "Daddy, David is hiding something. I know it. And I won't lose him." The chief laughed. "David is rich and powerful. He will choose wealth and politics over some street fling. Give it time." But Kimi was not satisfied. She bribed one of David's company staff to leak his schedules. When she found out he kept disappearing on certain evenings, she decided to follow him herself. One night, she trailed his car discreetly, only to see him step out dressed poorly near Yaba. She gasped in disbelief. What madness is this? Determined to dig deeper, Kimi swore she would expose whatever secret David was hiding. She had no idea that the truth would shake her world more than his. One fateful afternoon, Lagos police raided the Yaba area, rounding up beggars and street boys for cleanup operations. David was caught among them. Despite his protests, the officers mocked him. "Shut up, beggar, you'll explain yourself at the station." He was dragged away with Tunde and Kunnal. At the police station, David felt the true sting of humiliation. For the first time in his life, no one recognized him as the billionaire. He sat on the floor of a crowded cell, ignored and ridiculed. It was then he realized how cruel life was to the poor. Amora, upon hearing of his arrest, rushed to the station. She begged Inspector Bala, pleading for his release. "He is harmless. Please let him go." The inspector raised an eyebrow. "Why fight for a beggar, young lady?" But her determination softened his heart, and David was eventually released. That night, David's chest tightened, not from fear, but from gratitude. Amora had risked her reputation for him. Amora's mother, Mrs. Johnson, soon noticed her daughter's constant concern for the strange beggar. "Amora, tell me the truth. Who is this man you keep helping? Do you know his family? His past?" Amora lowered her eyes. "No, Mama. But I know he is kind and different. He deserves a chance." Mrs. Johnson shook her head. "My daughter, poverty is heavy. Love alone does not feed a family. Be careful before you give your heart to the wrong man." Amora tried to argue, but deep down she feared her mother might be right. Meanwhile, David's double life was becoming dangerous. By day, he signed Billionaire contracts. By night, he begged on the streets and sat outside Amora's shop. The pressure was mounting, and he knew he couldn't keep the lie for long. Michael called him from London. "David, you are playing with fire. If this girl discovers your secret from someone else, she may never forgive you." At the same time, Kimi was tightening her trap. She had collected photos of David in his beggar disguise and was waiting for the right moment to strike. "When the world sees this, they will laugh at him," she sneered. "And then he will come back to me." David stood at a crossroads. Should he tell Amora the truth now and risk losing her, or continue the dangerous game and hope her love was strong enough to survive the shock? The weight of his choice pressed heavily on his heart. One quiet evening, Amora closed her shop early. She and David sat on the wooden bench outside, the street unusually calm. Amora looked at him seriously and asked, "Daniel, do you ever dream of a better life?" David's chest tightened. This was his chance. He could end the lie now. Amora, there's something you should know about me," he began, his voice shaking. She leaned closer, expecting to hear about his past. But just then, Aisha called from across the road, interrupting them. "Amora! Come, let's go, it's getting late." The moment was lost. David swallowed his truth, hiding it again behind silence. That night, he lay awake under the bridge, furious at himself. He wanted to tell her everything, but fear of losing her kept his lips sealed. His heart screamed, if she can't love Daniel the beggar, she can never love David the billionaire. Kimi had waited long enough. Armed with photos of David in rags, she stormed into one of his business meetings unannounced. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said dramatically, throwing the pictures onto the table. "This is your great billionaire, reduced to a street beggar at night." The room went silent. David's business partners stared at the images in shock. Some laughed nervously, others whispered. David kept calm, but inside, rage burned. He stood tall and said, "My personal life is not your business. If I choose to live among the poor, it is because I wish to understand the struggles of those beneath us." His boldness silenced the room, but his secret was now exposed to the wrong crowd. Kimi smirked, convinced she had humiliated him. But David knew the bigger danger was still ahead. Amora could find out in the worst possible way. The worst happened faster than he feared. One afternoon, Kimi showed up at Amora's shop, flashing her designer handbag and fake smile. "Do you know the beggar you've been feeding? He's no beggar. He's billionaire David Cole." She handed Amora the photos and left with a cruel laugh. Amora's hands shook as she looked at the pictures. Her heart pounded in disbelief. He lied, all this time. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She felt betrayed, foolish for trusting a stranger who had hidden such a truth. When David arrived that evening, she didn't greet him with her usual smile. Instead, she threw the pictures at his feet. "Who are you? Daniel or David? Why did you deceive me?" Her voice cracked with pain. David tried to explain, but she walked away, her heart shattered. The days that followed were the hardest for David. He returned to Yaba, but Amora no longer looked at him. She refused his calls, ignored his presence, and buried herself in work. Even her mother noticed the change. "What happened, my daughter?" Mrs. Johnson asked. But Amora could not bring herself to explain the depth of the betrayal. David wandered the streets, lost and broken. For the first time, his billions felt like a curse. He could buy cars, mansions, but he couldn't buy forgiveness. "She was the one," he told Michael over the phone. "The only one who saw me as a human being, not a billionaire. And I ruined it with lies." Meanwhile, Kimi gloated, believing she had won. But deep down, David knew Amora's love had been real. If there was any chance to mend the bond, he had to prove his heart was true. One Sunday morning, David dressed in simple native attire, not as a beggar, not as a billionaire, but as himself. He went to visit Mrs. Johnson at her home. Amora was away at church, giving him the chance to speak. "Mama," David said, kneeling respectfully, "I'm sorry. I lied to Amora, but not because I wanted to hurt her. I only wanted to know if she could love me for me, not for my money." Mrs. Johnson studied him silently. His eyes were tired, but his voice was sincere. "Young man," she said at last, "love built on lies is like a house built on sand, it will collapse. But I see your remorse. If my daughter still loves you, she will forgive you. But you must fight for her trust. And this time, with the truth." Her words pierced him. David left determined to win Amora back, even if it meant losing everything else. David waited outside Amora's shop one evening, not in rags, but dressed simply in a clean shirt and trousers. When Amora saw him, she turned to walk away, but he stepped forward and blocked her path gently. "Amora, please, just give me 5 minutes," he begged. She folded her arms, her eyes cold. "You deceived me, David. You made me believe you were suffering when in truth you were testing me like some experiment. Do you know how that feels?" Her voice trembled. David took a deep breath. "Yes, Elite. And I regret it every day. But I swear on my life, I didn't do it to mock you. I did it because I was desperate to find one person in this city who could love me for who I am, not for my billions. And you gave me water when I was thirsty, food when I was hungry, and kindness when I had nothing to give in return. That love cannot be faked." His eyes glistened. "If you walk away now, I will accept it. But know this, you are the only truth I've ever known." For the first time, Amora saw the pain in his eyes. The prideful billionaire image was gone. Standing before her was just a man, broken and hopeful. She didn't reply immediately, but something in her heart began to soften. A week later, Mrs. Johnson invited David to their modest home. Amora was surprised, but her mother said gently, "My daughter, true love is not about how someone enters your life, but how they fight to stay in it." He knelt before Amora. "I am not asking you to forgive me today. I am asking you to watch me, test me, and see if my love is real. Give me the chance to earn your trust back." His humility touched not only Amora but also her mother. Amora's eyes welled with tears. "You broke me, David. But you also showed me that even a man with the world at his feet can choose humility. I don't need your billions, I just need your honesty." Slowly, she took his hand. David's heart raced with relief. Months later, their love blossomed openly. The billionaire and the fashion designer, an unlikely pair, walked side by side through Lagos, not as the rich and the poor, but as two people bound by genuine love. Even when Kimi and the world gossiped, David smiled. He had finally found what all his wealth could never buy, a woman who loved him for his soul, not his status.